Alrighty. Welcome, listeners, to another installment of the Banquet Hall podcast. It is your host, as always, Kyler, the fourth Kyler. I'm joined by the one, the only, I think the only. You could be cloned and I not even know it. Are you cloned?
I honestly think, I've run into a few doppelgangers, and I'm like, damn, bro, I ain't the original copy.
Well,
It's like,
well, we're here. We're here with Lola Prime, I guess, or one of the Lolas. Lola, how are you doing today?
oh, great. And just for the record, if we say Paola Pujos, then that's a different story. Then yeah, that's one of one. But Lola and this face, I've seen a few.
They clone Lola coming soon to Netflix, the sequel
Right.
to They Clone Tyrone.
Gonna be some real shit, okay? Watch.
Watch out for that. But listeners, I say this every time I start the podcast. If y'all are so stubborn that you still haven't followed the podcast, just what are you doing? All you need to do is pick up your two thumbs. You can even use one thumb if you want, but just type Banquet Hall Pod real quick on your device. Go on IG, go on X. You can call if you want, but I don't know if it's gonna go anywhere.
I don't know. I mean, IG, at least to your phone.
Yeah, that is true. A link to your phone, but go ahead and follow the pod on socials. Go ahead and pause real quick before you get to the rest of the episode. Well, pause after I give you the instructions, but text a friend and be like, hey, listen to this dope ass podcast. Lola's a guest. I heard they're gonna be talking about some healing shit, gonna talk about some energy and whatnot. Like, you might want to listen to this.
It
There we
is.
go.
There it is. You can't see it because I blurred out my background, but it says banquet hall.
We peeped the logo, and I noticed that the button is not blue, so you are already following the podcast. Salute to you.
Yeah.
From podcast follower to podcast guest, it's a blessing to have you on the pod, and I'm looking forward to the conversation this evening. The first question that I always start with on the pod, and you're one of a handful of people not from Los Angeles to be a guest on the banquet hall, so I'm excited to hear your answer to this. But Lola, where are you from, and how did that shape who you have become / who you are becoming?
Ooh, that's a great question. So I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York. And I've been living here in San Diego for the past 10 years since the very, very end of December 2012. How has that shaped who I've become? Ooh, I didn't really realize it till I moved to I was gonna say to the California, like not the Bronx, but sorry. Since I moved to Cali, I haven't really noticed, or I didn't really notice how much New York really actually influenced me as a person. I think once I started being around different cultures, like social cultures, is when I was like, oh, I'm from New York. So I feel like when you talk to me now and it comes up in conversation, which I say it a lot because I'm proud of it, especially being out here, just because everyone moves, wherever you come from, whether it's like a country, an ethnic background, or whatever, everyone moves different, has different forms of operations. And how being raised in the Bronx specifically, because ain't no one traveled to Brooklyn like that. That was far. It really shaped me in the sense of like owning, like using my voice, um, speaking up for myself, and learning how to kind of like call things out that needed to be spoken to. Being really comfortable with confrontation. But on that same note, learning how to properly have maybe healthy confrontation without like being a fucking asshole, because that was me. I was aggressive growing up. Not saying I was just like beating kids up, you know what I'm saying? But like I was super defensive if I needed to be, and I was so loud, so loud. Um, but I had tendencies of not being the nicest to not my friends, because I love my friends. I treat my friends like they're the best. But any like outside people, who who were acting some kind of way that I didn't really like, being very quick to jump at someone verbally and just kind of like chew them out.
Mm,
So as I came over here, I kind of had to learn how to find a happy medium of that, because when I came here, I noticed very quickly how like hype I can be. I'm very, I don't say I anchor quickly. However, if you push the right buttons, it's 0 to 100, and
real quick.
go motherfucking quick, okay? Especially if it's something that I care about, especially if you are attacking people that I care about. Like, I don't fuck with that. I'm very big on respect. So if you don't respect whatever the situation is, or you don't respect people, then I don't fuck with that. I don't fuck with that. Um, so I've kind of had to learn how to find a happy medium of, advocating for myself, while also speaking to things that need to be spoken to, placing boundaries, which I think was the most challenging for me, just because I never put boundaries on myself, because my mom didn't trust me. So she had like the crazy lock on me. And I get it now in my older years, just growing up in the Bronx, she didn't really trust the streets. I'm just like, damn, bro, you gotta trust me. I just wanted to go to the park, and do hood rat shit with my friends. And by hood rat shit, I mean like break Snapple bottles. Like, oh my God. I would never live there ever again, but I do love to go visit. I try to visit every other year, every 2 years, just because it's home, and every time that I'm away, I see the beauty of living in a city that is so hard, so full of culture, um, literally a melting pot of people, but also just the directness that you'll right now I can't really say I've experienced anywhere else. Um, to that capacity, at least. And I hold that dearly, because we don't play that. But we all take care of each other. It's like, it's so weird. People think that we're rude, but it's just like, no, we have things to do, we have people to see. You know what I'm saying? It's cold as fuck outside. I don't want to smile at you, right? But like, if you fucking with somebody and you holding up the bus, like, no, you're gonna get called out.
Yeah, it's like no nonsense. Like that's what I fuck with New York, because the first time I really got to visit New York and just be around the city, like because obviously being from a big city of Los Angeles, I'm used to like a little bit of hustle and the bustle, but there's still the little laxness because the beach right there. You got some palm trees in the city. When I hit New York, I'm like, oh, everyone here is on a mission. They know what they need to accomplish today. It's getting done. And if you in their way, like get the fuck out their way. But if you in the same lane as them, it's like cool, like we can work and build together.
Exactly, exactly. And even to this day, like I'm a commuter. I lost my car like 2 years ago, RIP. Um, so I take the trolley, I walk, and I just started taking the buses. I don't really like buses, but I'm just like, well, let's do it. I can't really walk everywhere like I could back home. So
Yeah.
um, but even then, like, people walk so slow here, and I feel like that is the perfect reflection of San Diego culture. It's just so laid back. People,
They ain't got nowhere to be.
they have nowhere to be. I'm just like, bro, move, yo, like move. I can't walk slow, And I feel like the way that it shows up for me and the time that I've been here is that I I feel like I'm always like finding my way towards something, you know? Um, I don't think I could just sit down. Um, yeah. So I love my city. I'm happy that I have had the opportunity to live there, grow there. My best friends are there. My mom is still there. My family's there, and it's just a vibe. I love New York. Like, actually, New York, not Albany.
I would say I love New York, a little cliche to end that statement.
Yeah. It's hurt, so I could do that.
That's real. That's real. And as I was preparing to ask you that question, hearing you talk about New York, if I'm not mistaken, and I severely apologize to any listeners who this, if I'm lying to you right now, but I'm pretty sure you're my only friend from New York. I think you're my only friend from New York. I could be, I have friends who live in New York, but in terms of being from New York, I think you might be the only one.
Damn. I hope nobody's come at you and they're like, "Hey, you forgot about me, motherfucker." Yes. Yeah. I I'm trying to think like how many people. I think it's really, I don't want to say it's really rare, but I've noticed most of the New Yorkers are living in LA, ironically. Ironically, which, I'm kind of upset that I haven't really spent too much time in LA just because one, um, I'm Dominican. There's not a lot of Dominicans here, right? But they're all in fucking LA. They're all in
They
LA.
are.
They are. I go to this Dominican event where there's this chef, his name is Chef Ramos. Um he puts on a thing called Capicua, and they host like domino tournaments. He sells his food, and they just host a fucking party. We call it like a coro, which is pretty much like a kickback per se. And you
Hmm.
just vibes and everybody's just dancing, drinking, eating, playing dominoes, a whole fucking vibe. But it's all the way in LA. It's all the way in,
Mm,
yeah. And
dang.
LA closest vibe to New York, but that Cali hits hard.
No, absolutely. Like if I was from New York, I would feel like LA was probably be the close one because of all the biggest cities I've been in, I don't think nobody nails the hustle and bustle of like New York City for sure. Like there's just nothing on its level. Everywhere else I've been, LA definitely comes the closest. Like I think some people could say San Francisco, but I don't feel like San Francisco is as grand of a city. Like San Francisco is relatively small in terms of land size compared to New York or LA. But yeah, I'm a big city guy. Like I love the big city vibe. I love the hustle and bustle. I love the grind culture.
Me too. I feel like if I would ever to move to like a more like rural country area, I think I'd get bored really fast. And of course, being like when I first got here, I got into like the whole spirituality thing, and I was just like, yeah, I can see myself living on a farm, tending to animals. And now I'm just like, bitch, fuck no. Like, what are you gonna do? I'm not tending to no land. Maybe I'll like pull some weeds, but like that's a lot of work. So I don't know. I also like having a toilet. Like I definitely more of a glamper than a camper. So the whole farm life, it's cute in theory, but I have to be like near a city because that's where all the shit's popping. You feel me? Is where yeah, yeah, man.
Feel you for sure. I definitely feel you. And then, like right before we started recording, we were talking. Lola and I were talking about my recent trip to Philly, and I think one of the other things I was saying that I'm not the biggest Philly person. Philly cheesesteak, A1. Like y'all did that. Y'all got the Philly cheesesteak. Y'all nailed it. It was delicious. But I feel like they kind of be some wannabe New York sometimes. Like I feel like it wants to be like really like hustle and bustle, but it's not that much hustle and not that much bustle. And I know a lot of people, if you listen to this podcast from Philly, you probably pissed off at me and want to run the fade. But I'm just speaking my perspective. When I was there, like people was honking, but it's more so because they can't drive. Like no one's real the people in a rush, but they ain't got nowhere to go. Like it was interesting. So Philly didn't hit the level of big city vibes that I had hoped for. But out of all the big cities I visited in New York, the energy is just it's unmatched. Cause man, y'all be on the go in New York.
Be fucking doing it. I can't really attest to Philly, but I know people from Philly that I've met out here. Cool as shit. Cool as shit.
Oh yeah, definitely cool.
Cool as shit. And I think that's one thing that I really fuck with New York is that it's so raw and like authentic in a way that I feel like for me here, living here and like trying to work my way and navigate through these waters, um, having like that core authenticity and being true to myself is something that I hold very dear and near to my heart and I value so much just because if I'm not fucking with it, if I'm not doing it, or if I don't like it, I'm not gonna do it. Simple as that. And
Hey,
yeah, yeah.
I rock with it. I rock with it for sure. And I love how much you own the New York part of your identity too, because ever since I found out you're from New York, like I feel like every time I see you, it shows in the best part, in the best ways. Cause like you said, you don't take no shit. You speak up for yourself. You're not afraid to call out some shit. And you just full-fledged New York. And that New York accent be strong when you want it to, for sure.
No, yeah, it comes out. It comes out. And I kind of noticed this the other day. I was like, damn, I think I subconsciously code switch. Like I don't do it on purpose, but I do notice when when I'm around certain people and certain energies, especially like if I'm talking to anyone back home, I'm like, oh, there it is. And there it fucking is. But then when I talk to someone out here, I don't hear it when I speak to other people. They're like, I kind of hear a little twinge of it. I was like, oh, okay, I guess. I didn't really know I had an accent until people pointed it out here. So, I love my city. And it's funny because like I wasn't like a kid who was like always on the street because like I said, my mom had me on the block. If you know anything about like Dominican culture or Latin culture, they like their daughters inside.
Mm.
So I wasn't someone who was like always on the streets. I wasn't like a little hood rat or anything. Um but and I feel like that just kind of like speaks to the quality of New York. You can be like the squares of squares or like not about that life and you still know how to advocate for yourself and take no shit. Because I just thinking back to like my school days, I've seen people who like super quiet, don't fuck with nobody. As soon as they get fucked with, oh, it's over. It's over. And that's just what I love about my city. It's just like we don't take no shit. We don't take no shit, regardless of who you are, where we come from. Like, you're not about to run over me, you know? So I love New York.
Man, I love that. And that's why I like starting the podcast with this question, just because you learn so much about someone's values, their upbringing, just by learning about how they grew up, where they grew up, and what love they have for their city. Because I've had people on this podcast when I ask them that question, they just say, oh, yeah, I'm from this place, and that's it. It's not like, oh, you don't really got like too much love for where you from. But then you have other people who they really go into a monologue about like how much they love their city and what their city means. And I think it's just so interesting to hear where people are from and how that brought them to where they are today. So that's really exciting. What did bring you to San Diego, if you don't mind me asking?
Ooh, I so so like I said, I was in a lot of ways I was very sheltered, right? But me naturally being myself, a rebel, someone who wanted to experience the world. Um, I I literally just wanted to hang out with my friends, right? I'm just gonna leave with that. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't want to go do drugs. I didn't want to do no wild shit. I didn't want to do nothing crazy. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to hang out with my friends and be outside. Um, so it was a buildup of me finding ways to be outside without my mom knowing, of course, right? So I've gotten caught a couple times, just like not being home when I'm supposed to, cutting school, stuff like that. But what really did it was I had a boyfriend and this was March 2012. So I was already with him since like July of the previous year, right? So what I would do is I would sneak him into my house. Um, and if you know anything about New York apartments, that is not a good fucking idea, okay? Because they're not that big. Surprisingly, this apartment, shout out to my mom, I don't know how the fuck she scored this, but that apartment was huge, low key. But the thing with it is like, so this is the front door. Her room is like on this side of the thing. So I got caught. I got, but I was really thinking that I was hot shit because I was doing it for at least 3 months. I was sneaking him in, getting him out, you know. And the reason why it's wild is because her and I shared a wall, and those walls were super fucking thin. And to get to the front door, you had to pass her door, right? So I had a whole little system. In the morning, I would wake up, take my shower, be chilling in my room. And then like right before I'm ready to like head out, I go into her room. I talk to her for a little bit. You'd be like, "Oh, can I have some $5 or whatever?"
A
Um,
distraction.
yeah. And then I close the door and then I'll leave. Right. So it's funny, the night before that day, he was like, "Hey, when you go take a shower, let me go with you." And I was like, all right, cool, whatever, whatever. The morning comes, I look at him, and I'm like, he can stay here. It's fine. It's fine. I go take a shower, get ready for school. Do, do, do. So I'm coming out of the bathroom and I walk towards my door, and my mom is standing in my doorway. Door fucking bust wide open, right? And I just see my boyfriend at the time in my bed without a shirt on, just like trying to cover himself. And she's yelling. She's like, "Who are you? What are you doing in my house?" And she sees me come up. She said, "This is what you be doing," but in Spanish, right? And she fucking hit me right on the head with her two knuckles, because that was her thing. She used to hit me, boop boop, just like that. And then after that day, she was just like, "I don't know what to do with you. All you do is give me headaches." And she threatened to send me to live with my dad, she threatened to send me to go live with my uncles in DR. And I was like, "Oh, hell no." So I called my sister and I was like, "Hey, can I stay with you?" And she spoke to my mom. And this is what tells me that I think my mom was bluffing. She was like, "Oh, you really trying to leave?" I said, "Hell yeah." Hell yeah. So then my sister took me in, and then I moved to Washington in March 2012, literally like a week after that. And that's the crazy thing. Like, I even though I love New York now, there was always a part of me that I was just like, I'm ready to dip. My sister planted the seed in me like a couple years back, when she first came back from boot camp or one of those times, because she's in the military. If you haven't gotten that by now. And she was just like, "Yeah, you can come stay with me. We can live in California." Da, da, da. She planted me and she sold me. And it never happened when she first said it. So then like a year or two later, this is when this happened. Or not a year or two, but like a year. Um, and yeah, and then I moved in with her. And I think that was the best thing that ever happened. Because
Wow.
I could have been pregnant.
That is, hey, that is true. Well, I will speak on behalf of all of California. We are lucky to have you in the Golden State.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me. Even though I'll be talking shit about y'all, but I do enjoy being here.
Part of the experience, honestly, like especially San Diego being a city of so many transplants, so many people from so many different places. I feel like we bond over talking shit about San Diego. None of us are from here, but we still like, yeah, we like the vibe. We might go get our little chai latte at our
You
favorite
know,
coffee shop.
our little acai bowl and avocado.
Yeah, everybody got their little acai bowl place, but we'll talk shit while eating an acai bowl. You be
Yeah,
sitting at the beach with your acai bowl, like, man, San Diego sucks.
just fucking fact. This acai bowl hit though.
Man, do the acai bowl here. Listeners, if y'all ain't had an acai bowl, like treat yourself. Nice little
Ooh,
fresh, cold acai bowl.
I'm gonna front one of the best acai bowls I've ever had. Senior Mangoes on 30th. I don't know what street that is, but Senior Mangoes in North Park
Mm.
ish. I don't fucking know what that area is. I have to tell
Yeah,
you
it's like
everything.
North Park.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The best. The best. And it's such a basic acai bowl. It don't have nothing crazy, but you don't need all that extra shit. I'm not a fan of. Just give me the bananas, the strawberries, the coconut flakes, the honey, and the granola with the acai. That's it. Senior Mangoes, all right? I don't even know what the acai fruit looks like. I
Man, I just remember like before I had ever had an acai bowl, I would always see it on the menu and just had no idea how to pronounce it. I'm like, what is the a K? What is that?
Oh my God. I, it kind of reminds me of Celeste. She says it acai,
Mm.
acai. It's acai. She's like, no, it's acai. And I'm like, which we both wrong. I don't know.
It's good though, damn it. That's what matters. But thank you for sharing about your journey to California. And that leads me to ask you, I mean, obviously I know how we met, but this podcast isn't just for me. People have to listen to this. So what do you remember about us crossing paths? And then we'll get to our, I guess you can call it a handshake. I don't know what you want to call our little gesture we have, but how do you remember us crossing paths?
Oh, oh, how do I, the particular moment right now in this moment, I don't know, but I do know, it was through Black expression. I don't remember what point. I think it was the church for sure.
Yes, it was the church, I'm pretty sure.
Because when I first started going, I did start going like towards the end of Caribbean Pleasures. But I didn't really interact with nobody like that. I was just like in there, filling out the vibe. Um, but I wanna say the church, and I think I bought your book.
You did buy my book.
Bought your book. Um, Now I don't remember what I said to you, but I know from that point on, I knew who you were.
Hey, that's all that matters. That's definitely all that matters. And you're a real one for buying a book. Like that already puts you in the upper echelon of people I know in San Diego. But I think that's just a testament to how the art scene in San Diego works because, like, yeah, like most of the people I know from the art community, it's like, yeah, I either met you at Black Expression, Lyrical Exchange, Trilogy or something, or it's Poetry Slam. And then all of a sudden we just connect. And if I had to guess, like I don't remember the specific moment either, but I would have to guess that I performed something, you liked the poem, you bought the book, then you read the book, which a lot of people don't do, surprisingly. They'll buy the book, but they don't be reading. But you read the book and then you really liked my New Harlem Renaissance poem. That's what I remember very specifically.
Yeah, yeah, it's your memory, y'all. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Yeah, it's coming back to me. And I did really like that poem just because obvious reasons. But the Harlem Renaissance to me, I remember very briefly learning about it. I think in like the second grade, which I think is kind of disrespectful because like I don't remember it really being revisited
Mm.
after. So but I remember learning about it really, really young, and I was just like, yo, that's fire. Like what? It was just like they were just in a time of like culture and arts, and they were just doing the damn thing. I fuck with that. Which is why I really enjoyed the space of Black expression, just because um from where I come from, like spaces like that didn't really exist. So the concept of people just going up there and doing poetry, I was like, what? That's so scandalous. Y'all just over there talking about your feelings, but like, I fuck with that. I fuck with that heavy. So to see people like you and like, all the other poets that we know just out here, not only performing them, but taking your craft and putting it into something tangible was like mind blowing. And I think it was so powerful, which is why, I'm just happy to be here.
Just happy to be here, but you're not just being here either because you are an integral part of that community, of the Black expression community, of the art scene in San Diego. Many of y'all might have seen Lola at one of the Black expression open mics or just anywhere in San Diego doing some art or some healing shit. And if you ever see Lola and I interact one or two times a night, we always do this little hand gesture at each other, and it's a nod. Audio listeners, we put our palms up, we kind of massage our palm with our index finger of the other hand, and we just nod at each other. And there's a just mutual understanding that yes, Just yes, that's our hand signal to each other. Do you remember how that started?
I remember the moment, but I don't know why it just kind of kept happening, and now it's a thing.
So the way that I remember it, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure this is what happened. I think so. For those of y'all who haven't hosted an event before, there's a lot of like behind the scenes communication that happens while the audience is just like focusing on the show. Like people trying to figure out who's next, where's this thing at, who doing this, X, Y, and Z. So I'm pretty sure you were trying to get me to tell Kovu something, and you were like pointing to your hand, and I was like, well, what the fuck are you saying? So I just did it back to you. And you're like, yeah. And then I went up to you. I'm like, dog, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like, what is this hand signal? And then we just kept doing it as like a shared little inside joke. But it's just been funny ever since because it'll just be random times I'll see you and you're like, hey.
Yeah. Yes. Hmm. You don't have to say anything. Just nod your head. Just nod your head. And this is how you find out we're aliens. Mm?
Exactly.
Oh, I know you've seen Scary Movie 3.
But yes, that's our little hand signal. And it's just funny how just life brings these random things that just end up being inside jokes with people because it literally is nothing, but it's just so fun at the same time. Just every time I see you, just say, just keep that
Hey,
in mind.
yeah. And honestly, those are my favorite moments just because like we're just in it, you know? There's no like I don't know, there's not much thought to it. It's just like we're just existing. And I think that's the best part. You know, we're just being ourselves.
Yeah, just being ourselves, being goofy, being childish, like just living our best lives and finding joy in the little things. And I definitely do appreciate those little moments because I also feel like it can bring more light into any situation too. Like maybe like you upset about something from your day or maybe had a rough day. You go into the Black Express just like, hey, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, none of this shit, all this shit's made up. Like, yeah, let's do the palm thing.
It's all right. Yeah, especially like I don't know. I've noticed not just like with BX, but shows in general. Like if you're on the behind the scenes, there's always something going on, you know. So it's good to cultivate like just a moment of joy. You know, everything may be burning, but
Absolutely. It's so fun. But speaking of Black expression, speaking of open mics, you have so many different facets to you. It's kind of hard to even just narrow down like one thing to talk about on a podcast with you. So it's really fun thinking of all the different ways that this podcast can go. I needed to say that first because you're just multi-talented.
I appreciate that because really I think it is like ADHD at the end of the day. But it's but it's also just the fact that I've always wanted to do everything and I've
Mm.
wanted to like experience everything except for heroin. No, thank you. No. Say no to the H. That was an X, but you know what I meant.
Yeah,
But
you're hilarious.
clown. um, but I've always wanted like I've never the idea of boundaries and like being limited to one facet has always has always just been like a huge ick to me. And for me, I know that is rooted in like just the structure and the discipline that I had, which is why I always decided to be like, fuck you, I'm gonna sneak out. Um, and I feel like that has just like evolved with the ways that I want to like exude my energy and share my energy, but also just do what it is that I want to do, which is a big deal, which is because I always felt like I couldn't, I couldn't do it. And a lot of that, stems with like, childhood things and just things that people used to say to you as a child. They're just like, you can't do it, and doing the whole comparison thing between kids. I'm just like, damn, like, can I just exist as myself? So now that I am living my life for myself, I don't like to limit myself, and that's something that actively try to do, because even like with my self-talk, you know what I'm saying? Like it's very easy to be like, no, you can't do that, you know? So yeah, I like, I don't know. I'm not, there's so many aspects of me that make me, and things that I'm interested in and things that I like to do, that doesn't fit in just like one niche. So I think which is why like I don't have like a, like I feel like I can be friends with everybody, you know, just because I'm open to differences. I'm open to learning. I'm open to things that I've never done before, because that is how I expand my mind. That's how I learn new things, but that's also how I learn about myself. Things that I like, things I don't like. I don't know. I just like to try new shit. I don't really like to hold myself back in that regard.
It's
So
beautiful.
yeah,
And it's a
thank you.
beautiful segue too, because the first thing I wanted to talk about, you recently started a comedy career, as far as I'm concerned. Uh, Sometimes you go to Black Expression and you might see Lola's name on a list. You might just get up there and talk about your day. You might do a quick little poem that you wrote. And then there was one time where you're like, "Hey, I'm gonna do some comedy tonight." And I'm like, "You doing comedy tonight?" I was like, fuck it, let's see what it is. And you went up there and you did not bomb. Like, you were actually funny, which I think is like something that can't go understated, because there's a lot of not funny people in this world. And there's a lot of not funny people who think they could just be funny. And there's a lot of funny people who can't do stand-up comedy. And you are starting yourself as an open mic comic, and you're doing great. So what led you to want to try out comedy on the mic?
I feel like it's a plethora of things for sure. I'm gonna just start with, I think I naturally make myself laugh. So like when Instagram first started, and like a couple years back, I used to make videos, right? And like I would watch my videos, and I would be dead ass like laughing at myself. And like to this day, whether it's like me talking to myself, whether it's me talking to other people, I think I'm funny as fuck. First and foremost. And I think that has a lot to do with it. And two, I genuinely like making people laugh. And that stems from, and honestly, I didn't notice it till earlier this year when I went on a trip with my mom and a whole bunch of her like Dominican church friends. I noticed it then, and I noticed it when I go back to DR. There's a gift of like storytelling and joke telling, comedy, that exists in our culture, and I didn't really put two and two together until like I was kind of like observing everything. And one of my favorite parts about the trip that we went on, because we went to go visit Israel and we went to go visit Rome, right? And for a lot of those times we were in buses, and they were all just like sharing jokes, telling stories. And I was just like, oh, I think this is where I get it from. I think it's really ingrained in like just my DNA. Um, because I naturally, I like talking to people and I like making people laugh, right? But I didn't really put two and two together, like I said, until I witnessed where it is that I come from and where it stems from. And I like comment, and I like Dave Chappelle, so I'm kind of all over the place, but it's a bit of everything. It's rooted in culture. It's rooted in the belief of my own humor. It's me wanting to make people laugh just because people are so serious. And I feel like I've always been a clown. Especially like in my high school days, I was one to just be goofing around, you know, doing dumb shit with my friends. Like we used to make YouTube videos of just like nonsense. And I tell them all the time, I was like, look, you know, during that time, if we were consistent on YouTube, we would have been YouTube famous right now, because
Consistency is key.
yeah, but like, what the fuck did these 12-year-olds know? So yeah, I just the concept of laughter and sharing that with people is something that I gravitate towards, and it's needed. Laughter is healing.
Laughter
And
is definitely healing.
even if it's dark humor. So to each his own, but we gotta laugh in the dark moments, I think.
And it takes a special level of confidence to feel comfortable like getting up on a mic and trying to deliver dark humor too, because man, when dark humor doesn't hit your audience, like everybody knows it don't hit.
Yeah, yeah. And it's crazy because like I haven't actually sat down and wrote a set. So everything that you've seen me do, I think the second one at the guild room, that one I had like an idea, but like everything else has been like freestyle. I'm just like I have an idea of like what I want to say and how to say it, but I have not sat down to write anything. I've tried, but I feel like to intentionally be funny is really hard.
It is.
Really hard. Like I gotta write, okay, and here's the punchline right here. Yo, this is different. I'm practicing it. I've had the fortune of connecting with a few dope comedians out here who are doing the damn thing. Camille Waters, Evan Loki gave me that connect. She's fucking hilarious. I was able to talk to her and she gave me some good pointers. And Walter Ford also.
Love Walter.
You haven't had him on your podcast. I don't know. Maybe this is it.
I do need
um,
to get Walter on the podcast for sure. That's a good idea.
and he is out here doing the thing. He's also hosting now. On top of doing his comedy stuff, he's putting on shows. Like
Left and right.
he's great. He's great, and he's funny. And they've both given me really, really good tips on how to just like start the process of intentionally being funny. Um, I honestly, I just need to sit down and do it. But every time I do, I'm just like, I just rather freestyle. But I don't know. We got to figure that out. So that's where I'm at right now. I haven't gone to a comedy open mic yet, just because I feel like I need to write something. But
Yeah.
parts of me will say fuck it and try to make these people laugh. And
I
if
mean,
they
what's the
boo
worst
me,
thing that can happen?
they boo me, and I'm gonna boo back. I'll boo back. What the fuck?
And
That
I
was
feel like you can even have something in your back pocket if people do start booing you. Like you got the New York attitude. You can make a joke out of that, boot them back, and end the
honestly.
show.
And one of my things is that ultimately, so uh Dave Chappelle is my favorite comedian. Like 100%. 100 since the Chappelle show. But even like all the specials that he came out with Netflix, he's just such a genius, and how he pieces everything together. But what I love that what he does is like he has a message, and I think that's the power of comedy. Like if to each his own, but like if you are really doing it right, you're saying it to convey a message, and that's one of the things I want to work towards, because yes, we can heal through laughter, but also like what are we actually like engaging in, and I just I aspire for Dave to be my mentor because he's great. He's great and he's fucking funny.
Yeah, Dave Chappelle can definitely be hilarious. And yeah, I look forward to seeing how you continue to grow as a comedian. Not that you necessarily have to have the label as a comedian, but in your art as someone who can perform stand-up comedy. Like, make me want to get up there and try some jokes. Like, I feel like I can do it, but I don't know.
You could, honestly. You definitely could. I mean, you do it naturally. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
I kind of give y'all like a little fake audition when I'm hosting Black Expression. Like I throw a couple little tidbits in there to see if it hit or not. I could probably try it one day. One day.
To just go on the mic, don't say nothing, and just have at it.
That exactly probably would it be like, especially like I just write my name on a list and Lou or whoever's hosting go, oh, in for some good poetry, and I get up there and just start telling jokes.
Just
Gotta love the art scene. And I want to thank again for the idea of having Walter on the pod, because Walter, one, he's hilarious. Two, he's doing such great things in the community. So I'm definitely going to reach out to have him on the pod. Can I tell you a quick Walter story about how Walter and I crossed paths that the listeners will have to listen to again when I interview Walter?
Of course.
So I met Walter in the most random fashion. So, and I really didn't mean to say fashion in that sense, but it was at Fashion Valley. So how things add up. But it was at I think it's like California Sock Company. It's some sock store at Fashion Valley that Walter was working at the time. And I was just in there because I like cool socks. If y'all ever see me wearing shorts, check out the socks. The sock game usually on fire.
Yeah. They usually oh,
Yeah, so I was at Fashion Valley trying to find some socks, just killing time. And Walter, being a black dude working at the register, I like talking to black folks in public. It's a little niche for San Diego at times. Like people don't really just be having random conversations, but I digress. But I was like, "What's up, bro? Like, how's your day going?" Just being a human, honestly. And we started talking and got to find out that he was doing comedy. I was like, "Oh, like I do this open mic, Black Expression. You should check it out." And then he was like, "Yeah, like I'm actually out here going to the show," and he showed me the show. And then my friend Aaron Monte was performing. They're like, "Oh, how you know Aaron?" He's like, "How you know Aaron?" So it's just one of those serendipitous moments where it's like all I was doing was seeing a brother at the register asking how his day was. And it's like, dang, how did I know I was going to connect with this really dope comedian, a person doing a lot for the community? So yeah, I look forward to talking to Walter on the pod one day.
hell yeah. Those are the best moments for me, I think. And then next thing you know, they're in your life for like the next what, 5 years.
Absolutely. It's time just be timing. But let's go ahead and progress a little bit more through the life of Lola. So one part comedian, another part of you is your modeling career. So how did you get your start as a model?
Man. So so I've always liked taking pictures. I grew up during the MySpace days.
Gotta get the MySpace angle.
Right, you know what I'm saying? And I took a lot of pictures. Partly because if I wasn't trying to sneak out, I was home. So I was either taking pictures, I was either reading books, I was either watching movies. Um, but I've always had an affinity for the camera, being on it and taking pictures as well. So behind and in front. And I remember when I first so all the way up to this point, I've just been like super photogenic, right? Of me taking my photos, posting on Instagram and wherever else, right? Um, and then this was post Black Expression. I think this was around the time when like Kovu first got his camera. It wasn't like a real photo shoot, but like I was just like, oh, I'm posting in front of the camera. And then there was a poet that used to go to erotica nights at Hookah and Poets. Um, what's his name? His name was Sol. He went by Sol, but his name is Ron, who is also a massage therapist. But I found that out after. He randomly hit me up and he was like, "Hey, you want to do a photo shoot?" And I was like, "Yeah." And that was technically my first shoot, where someone was just like, "Hey, let's shoot. Let's go to the said location." And then after that, a girl that I went to massage school with, she introduced me to Frank, which is XPLR_EST82, which is the photographer that I work with the most here. We did that other shoot where I was at the beach and I was nude. That was my first like nude shoot, but it was also technically one of the first shoots I've ever done. And we kind of just like hit it off. Frank is a cool guy. He's self-taught photographer, and he's just amazing. He has like the eye, he has vision. Um, Great guy. And that's pretty much the beginning of my modeling career. And then from there, I started working with different photographers for different projects. I even got I even started doing like commercial modeling. I've had like digital marketing companies reach out to me and help me with offer me jobs to do like product shooting um, for clothing. And then from there, I started doing runway, which I never thought I could do because, you know, I'm short. For the longest time, I thought it was 5'3", but then someone was like, "No, you have to be at least like five." I mean, for the longest time, I thought it was 5'1" still, but he was like, "Nah, you have to be like 5'3". So I think I'm like 5'3" now. But either way, still short as fuck for the run world. Um, and yeah, and I've kind of just been like, bleh, doing all the things. Um, and that's kind of how I started. Now I think I'm like 3 years in of modeling. I will be making four. I think I made four this year. I have to go back and do the numbers, but it's like 3 or 4 years of modeling. And I recently went this past April to a model camp by
Mm.
a well-known model named Coco Rocha. She's been modeling. She got scouted when she was like 14 or something. And they call her the queen of pose, and she quite literally is the queen of pose. It was a huge investment for myself, but also in the modeling career, just because what I thought was modeling before is not even close. It's not even close. So now I'm just kind of like in a space of like figuring out what direction I want to take it, because I'm not really trying to do I don't want to be in the industry, just because when I think about working with like Gucci and Coco Chanel, I just think about them being racist, and like just the modeling industry in general being a racist industry. And you can see it. Just I mean, now it's gotten a little better. They have like their top three Black girls, but still it's to every 15 white models, there's like one Black girl. And um, from the experience that I've had at these runway shows, how they, you know, talk to the models in terms of like their weight, their size, I'm not really a fan of that. So what I've come to now is just like I would prefer to work with like um, underground artists and designers, and really, I don't know, work with more trailblazers that isn't so like wrapped up in like that industry, just because I don't really like the way they function. They're rude, they're nasty, you know, and I'm not a fan of that. So now with I just want to make something different. I want to actually evoke feeling and create art, um and look good while doing it. So stay tuned.
Hey, that was a hell of a plug. Kudos to you for plugging. Like that was you took us along the journey. You talked about what you like, what you don't like. I rock with it. And as you were talking, like I have the perfect person I want to connect you with, who's about to launch a brand that, yeah, we work in. So stay tuned.
Oh,
Crown Ellen, Bay Area, a proud sponsor of the Banquet Hall podcast. Thanks for listening.
you got my number.
I do have your number. Um, yeah, and see, this is why I like doing the podcast and being involved with like creatives, because it's like I feel like they're just random moments of synergy, of connectivity, where it's like, ooh, I need to connect you with this person, and just all these connections really start to build this community thing. And I even circle it all the way back to what we're talking about with the New Harlem Renaissance. I feel like this is what I meant when I wrote that poem. Like, yeah, like we here. This is the Renaissance. This is our Renaissance. Beyonce went on the tour. We got our artists doing our thing. Like this is our moment.
Yeah, no, literally. And I think that's one thing that I really have to give credit to San Diego, is that it really opened up my eyes to the art scene. And it's more than just photography and modeling. It's like you have dope muralists out here. You have dope like people who do carpentry, you know, like art is so vast, and there's so many people doing so many different things, different art forms, and things like this where people are able to connect with one another and continue to like expand their vision and expand their craft is so important. You about to make me bust out your book and read the damn poem.
We're gonna have a live reading of the New Harlem Renaissance song.
All right, a part.
I have a part 2. I need a part 3.
Oh,
I'm pretty sure I have a part 2. I got too many damn poems. I'm pretty sure I got a part 2.
I never heard it.
Are you lying? No, I'm just kidding. Maybe you weren't there when I performed it, but I'm pretty sure I got a part 2. I'll look for it as we're talking, but I'm pretty sure I got a part 2. But I do really resonate with what you said about just how much stuff is going on in the community, because I even think about just how many different people perform at Black Expression. Like, we have people who get on the mic and they'll they'll just off the dome do like excerpt out of a fantasy thing that they're writing. We've had xylophones. I remember after you did your boot camp, you came and posed as your performance for Black Expression and killed it. People get up there and just talk about their day and how they're feeling. Like, I love when people just get up on the mic and like, hey, this is just what's on my mind in this moment right now.
Yeah, those are my favorite too. Just because it's so real. It's just raw. It's honest. You know, it's not like there's no gimmick to it. It's just showing up as they are. And I love that we even have a space where we're just like, yes, come, come, share, cry if you need to, laugh if you want to.
Yeah, people don't be believing us too. Like, whenever I try to convince people to come to open mic or perform, they're like, "Oh, but I don't know if I'm like good enough." I'm like, it's the same what this about. Like, whatever you want, whatever's on your chest, like, just get up there and try it out. Because I promise you, if you're looking for some supportive motherfuckers in San Diego, you'll find them in this room.
We find her. Hell yeah, and it's all love. It's all love at the end of the day. You
All
know?
love at the end of the day. I feel like we've only scratched the surface of who you are, and we've already been talking for an hour now, and I haven't even got into the meat of like what this discussion is supposed to be about. Like, we just going, and the energy is where it needs to be. But I want to make sure that we leave some time to talk about alternative and holistic health, because I think it's fair to say that at your core, you are a healer. Would you agree with that statement?
I agree. I do agree with that statement. I plead the fifth.
And there's just so many different ways that we can start with this, but I think where I want to start is your work as a massage therapist and walking us through that journey. And before I let you do your spiel, I just want to go back. I don't remember exactly what year this was. I think it was probably like 2018 or so, but you came to my townhouse in La Jolla with a massage table just because you were looking for people to practice on. And I was like, are you sure this is me doing you a favor? Like, you're going to bring a massage table to my house? This feels like some baller shit.
Look, I was fucking trooping with the table, okay? I was like, I'm getting my work in. I really do appreciate you even like opening yourself up to do that, because
What do you mean opening myself up? You offered to come give a massage on my balcony or on my patio. I was like, yes, that's, if this helps you, sure. Like, my back hurt. This sounds great.
yeah, no, and that's one thing that I've learned is that not everyone is open to touch or massage. So especially like as someone who's just learning, like I was just really grateful that you were just like, yeah, you know, because I was just trying to put in my hours, you feel me?
I feel you, and I was grateful as well. But let our listeners know, how did you get started as a massage therapist, or what led you to want to even pursue this as like part of your life?
It wasn't intentional. It wasn't literally fell into my lap. Initially what I was looking for was a holistic health program, because I knew that's something that I wanted to be in that realm. So I was looking for programs along that. And that just stems from like my upbringing, my mom having like just being like an herb guru, knowing how to heal through foods and different herbs and teas and stuff like that. Um, so once I came into my awakening, I was just like, yeah, it's just holistic stuff, right? And the program that I found, the basis of it, was massage therapy. So I think it was 700 hours of the massage therapy and then 300 hours of the holistic health aspect. Um, so it was a certified massage therapist program. So I get the certification for that and a certified holistic health practitioner certification. So when I came across it, I was like, massage therapy? You mean touching bodies? That's kind of weird. But I was like, I'm with it. Let's do it. And then I went through the program and I honestly fell in love. I was like, wow, I like doing this, and also I'm good at it. And that's kind of just how I started doing it. And I'm still doing it. I'm still touching bodies. Still touching. Grown so much from that time that you let me massage you. I've grown so much, as a person, but definitely as a therapist. I've definitely have found um my style, my flow, what I really want my clients to tap into and hone into and feel when they're on my table. So yeah, it's just been a blessing, the fact that I've just been able to continue doing this. My one of my instructors told us that massage therapists have a lifespan of like 2 years. After 2 years, they either hurt themselves or they're just like physically just like, I'm good. And I'm on year number 4.
Well, shout out to year number 4. What is it that you hope that I guess the people who are coming to you for massage, what do you hope that they're leaving that table with?
Learning how to be able to tap into themselves and kind of like essentially calm their nervous system. We live in America, right? So we are highly stimulated. So whether that is constantly dealing with technology, caffeine, living under capitalism, so we're not properly rested and we're not properly relaxing. So we're constantly in this fight or flight mode. So I work with the parasympathetic system, having different techniques and modalities that are really going to allow you to tap into that and calm your nervous system. And the goal is for people to get familiar with that feeling. So then if they find themselves at work somewhere, they have the sensation and the awareness of what that feeling is that they're able to tap into. And then, I might give them some tidbits on how to actually self-soothe and stuff like that. So that is my number one. I also want people to feel comfortable in their bodies. Because I've kind of always had this like love yourself mentality, but I guess I really, really honed into it and did become a value of mine to really allow people to show up as they are and kind of slowly start breaking their like self-limiting belief towards their physical body, but also just their mental, emotional, spiritual body. Because um I'm always surprised when people get on my table and they apologize for something on their body, and I'm like, why are you apologizing? And I'm just like, you don't need to apologize. This is your body. If I was gonna judge you for how you look, I would be in the wrong profession. And if you are working with somebody who makes you feel shame for how you look, um, then you shouldn't let them touch you. Now if your feet stink and you want me to work on your feet, then that's a different story. And be like, ma'am, you knew what you was gonna show up to. Like, what are we doing? That's a different story. But I've had people apologize for like body hair. I've had people apologize for their size, and those aren't things that you should apologize for. But if you fart in my face, then yes, you should you should definitely fucking apologize. I'm just I'm
So
just saying.
you're telling me that people just be farting and they don't say nothing about it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yo, what? And it I wish I could say it doesn't happen often, but it happens enough for me to fucking talk about it. 'Cause why? Granted, some people be sleep, but not everybody be sleep. You know what you're doing and
Nah.
think about it? No. That's why I told you, I far back. 'Cause no one's gonna
Oh
say
my.
playing games here. All right. Shit.
Listeners, that was part of Lola's comedy stand up, and when I tell you the way the room started busting up laughing when you say I fart back, I was like, yo. Oh snap, that's hilarious. Yeah, that is hilarious. And I want to make sure towards the tail end, I want to leave some room to talk about kind of how people can maximize massages, but I want to make sure that we have time to talk about other aspects of you as a healer as well. So I want to run through a few more things that if someone were to follow you on Instagram, which we're going to get to later as well, they'll see these different words or events on your profile. So I want to give you space to talk about each of them. So when you say that you're a body worker, what does that mean?
So I say we use the word bodywork and massage therapy because sometimes the work that we do isn't like solely physical. So I do Reiki as well. Um, I've completed all levels of the Osui Reiki, um, and that's a form of energy healing, right? And then you have other modalities that don't really require lotion or oil or for someone to take their clothes off, but we're working the body. So I say body worker because I don't just physically touch bodies. Um, and so I'm a body worker on all levels, physical, energetic, spiritual. And I also read tarot cards. I'm an intuitive reader. So that's why I broaden it and I say body worker because I work on all aspects of it.
All aspects of it. And so, for some of our listeners who aren't familiar with tarot cards or intuitive reading, what does that entail?
Intuitive reading. So it entails. I've just been waiting. I've just been waiting.
Came ready with the props.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are modern versions. So these are a play on like the Rider Waite cards, and they are a divination tool. They're here to serve as a guide to give insight, provide guidance, bring clarity to whatever questions that you may have. They've been around for a really, really long time. People now have built whole careers off of it, also thanks to Instagram. And people kind of get freaked out about it because they think it's like some witchcraft, witchy, hoo, which I'm like, I understand why you would say that, but also it's just a tool. The same way that you would maybe go talk to a therapist or go journaling, you can read cards. And one thing that I always tell my clients is that the cards are a guide first and foremost. They're not set in stone. Um, don't be afraid of them. There's nothing to be afraid of. And it's all down to interpretation. Everyone sees different things. And they're just a useful tool for self-connection, to help you just like whatever you're experiencing during that time, the cards will help you just ground any messages, bring forth any clarity. And yeah. And I love to read them.
Yes. And I really appreciate you mentioning how people have a certain stigma around tarot cards because I feel like too often we have this fear of the unknown or fear of things that we don't have like a very detailed backing of. And I think especially speaking from my own personal experience, but I feel like I've seen it a lot with people who have more religious backgrounds or religious upbringings, like it's like, oh, you doing that devil worshiping or you doing that devil stuff. And I feel like that's a stigma that I even had, like coming into like a lot of the art community in San Diego, is where I was like, yeah, I have no idea what this is, but everything that I learned growing up makes me feel like it's bad.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember this, but you gave me my only tarot card readings I've had in my life. Do you remember that?
Oh my God, what?
Yeah, I thought about it as as I was preparing for this podcast, but I've only had a reading once, and you did it via phone. And I don't forget it at all because I was in La Jolla. I was driving to the beach. I was like right by Scripps Beach, La Jolla Shores. And I don't remember why I even reached out, or if you were just doing it like practicing or whatever, but we did it like over the phone. Like I was sitting in my car and you did a reading for me over the phone.
I actually don't remember this.
Yeah, it's
Well,
crazy. Like we're more intertwined than I remember, but yeah.
wow. That's wow. I don't remember that. Damn, my memory is so bad. I gotta start sniffing on some rosemary. Wow, really? Oh my God. We
So I
really
guess
are.
I must I guess we friends or I trust you or something. I don't know.
I think I think we're friends. Oh my God. Wow. Do you remember anything that I said? No, it's
No.
it's okay if you don't.
It was
Yeah.
because this was at least 5 years ago for sure. I don't remember what you said, but I remember afterwards. I was like, huh, like
Hmm.
maybe this is like a little tool or something. Like because
Yeah.
more than anything, it like you said, it's kind of like it's a tool, it's a guide, it's something you can use as a basis. And that's what I really appreciated about how you did it, because it wasn't like, oh, this is what this means, but it was like, oh, this is what I'm seeing. You ask like guiding questions like, oh, are you experiencing this in your life? And at the time I was like, how the fuck, how do you know?
I'm watching you.
Because I'm pretty sure it was like during a breakup phase or right before a breakup phase or something. And whatever it was just like, damn, like, all right, Lola, like, I guess you know what you're talking about or whatever.
Oh shit. Wow. Wow. Yeah, I don't remember that. But it
Yeah,
sounds served you and what you needed during that time.
yeah. And so I think I just wanted you to be able to talk about like being a tarot reader, because I think
Yeah.
people just need to destigmatize stuff like that. Like I feel like we have, especially as a community, we have so many stigmas about things that realistically, like when you really get down to the core of it, white supremacy has taught us to have stigmas against like a lot of these things. And the more that we're introduced to people who have studied the history of these things, who practice it, who have a connection to their why and connection to body work, to energy work, I feel like the better we can be connected with each other, because now you're not like this crazy crystal lady or this crazy tarot card reader, but it's like, no, like there's literature behind this, there's history behind this, there's meaning behind all of this.
And I remember like a long time ago having this conversation. I forgot with who, but it's like, um, they call it new age spirituality stuff, but like a lot of these divination tools are not new. We're just older now, and now they've come into our stream of consciousness. And I really like the fact that you brought up white supremacy, because that's a big reason why these things are demonized. I mean, religion. I mean, I don't want to go there, but where did that come from?
Yeah.
I'm gonna just ask that question. Where did it come from? So when you find when you open yourself up to it, you'll see, like you said, there's actual there are literature in terms of like African traditions and stuff like that, but we also have to keep in mind that a lot of these things weren't written down
Yeah, oral
because
tradition.
oral tradition, because they didn't what who's teaching them how to write in English. So these are things that are taught, or you're gravitated towards. They say, I remember when I was coming into the realm of it, they say, that you're attuned if someone gifts you your cards. I don't know how true that is, but it's just what I've heard, is what I've been told. And my card actually, they were gifted to me by my sister, and they're, I don't know, it's so weird. I don't even know how to explain it. Even after like learning how to do this, I started finding out like little things in regards to like my family on my mom's side, of how like um you know they have like these internal knowings, or they used to practice with like herbs and things like that. um they're all divination tools, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't know. And what you'll find, a lot of it is rooted in nature. So to say that these are things of the devil, I think is a little disrespectful, just because they come from the same aspect that create you, you know? And it's what it is learning how to utilize these different energies and resources and raw materials to create something. Like art, really. It's just alchemy at the end of the day. And I just hope people are just like more open to learning, because it's deeper than what we think it is. It's not anything new. And I think it's rooted in a lot of us without us even knowing. So I don't know, that was a lot. I don't even know if I answered your question. I'm just talking shit now.
Hey, that's why I give you the spiel before the podcast starts. This is what the podcast is about. It's
Right.
for real conversations. Like, there are topics we go through, there are questions, but I want to get to the meat of these dialogues. And this is why I appreciate having you on the podcast, because I want people to be able to hear these stories, to hear how you talk about these things, and then be moved to like explore more. Because I think that's what we at least owe any creative. We owe anything that people are passionate about. It's like, hey, hear my story, hear my spiel, hear my experience with it, and then go see for yourself. Learn more if you need to, experience it if you need to. But I want people to have informed opinions on things, and I want people to be able to hear from the people doing these things, because I think especially in this TikTok age that we're in, like, you just scroll on a For You page and just some influencers doing a tarot card reading, and they're just like, oh, like, this generation, or this is fake, or this is BS. But when you really get into the weeds of like, okay, no, these are real people who practice this. These are real people who have experiences with this. This is really, yeah, it's just, this is why we podcast, I guess, is what I'm trying to say.
And I will say, since all these divination tools have kind of blown up, I think what it comes down to is a matter of intention, because there are
Mm-hmm.
people who practice these things, and then like, they try to sell you like a doom gloom kind of reading or something like that. So definitely do not lose your discernment in these things. But also practice discernment, but ask questions.
Mm-hmm.
But also don't automatically just like demonize it as something bad. It's kind of like, this is the analogy that I like to use, is that it's kind of like a gun. People can use it for protection or to cause harm.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to me, that's how I see, just utilizing divination tools. Because I know for me, like, I, ooh, I, how can I say this? I have good intentions in all the things that I do. Um, and I stay within the things that feel comfortable with me, and I don't mess with free will. And there may be people who do the opposite of that, but the whole concept is not something that should be shunned. Yeah, and I'm gonna just say that.
Absolutely. And I just appreciate your authenticity with just how you talk about all the different ways that you practice and experience alternative and holistic health. But I want to kind of round out this segment with one kind of shameless plug-ish, but also an opportunity to talk about something that you do. You're involved with Tea and Tarot, the Rope Collective. So I wanted to give you some space to talk about the Rope Collective, T and Tarot. I have a couple of close friends who have gone to the Rope Collective and they love it. So I wanted to make sure that there's some space on the podcast for you to talk about the importance of this event.
Yes. So the Rope Collective is a really dope space, cultivated by Tony. Her Instagram is the Submissive Tiger. So she is, in my opinion, a big head in the Shibari world, which is like rope art, rope bondage. And she busted her ass to cultivate this space and have an actual physical space where she can hold classes for teaching people how to tie rope or expand their knowledge on that. Rope is very healing for a lot of people, and she really has like cultivated a community of that. And she offered me a space to do massages out of. So I do massages out of one of the rooms there. It's called the Light Room. And I do massages there a couple out of the weeks. And on top of that, me and my good friend Celeste, who handcrafts her own teas and tea blends, we came together one day and she was like, and we were like, hey, it'd be dope, like, if like you served your tea and I read a reading and we did readings. And that's how tea and tarot came to be. Because her teas are phenomenal. I'm not a tea fanatic. Let me just leave with that. I'm a coffee head all the way. We're working on it, but her teas are so good. And
Okay.
like that, like they have to be good because like I said, a motherfucker drink coffee. Okay. Tea's cool. I like teas for the medicinal reasons, but like to just be drinking tea just to drink tea, that's not me. But her teas, so good. So good. So we wanted to bring both of our gifts together. She also reads cards. So I hope I do a collective reading for everybody. And then Celeste does like an oracle reading, and then she also leads almost like through like a tea ritual meditation thing. And we pretty much allot space for people to listen to the reading, but also, have time for journaling and self-reflection and stuff like that. And then we like to burn things, we like to release things, call things in, stuff like that. And we host that at the Rope Collective as well. So yeah, we out here doing the things, holding the spaces, utilizing the crafts and all that.
All that. Thank you for plugging that. And I hope that just through your story, through your retelling, like people are able to engage with different forms of art and creativity. Like I think that not too often, but I think we only focus sometimes on things that you can hear, things that you can read, but there's so many different ways that people can be creatives, that they can be artists. And I feel like all the different facets of healing that you're involved with are all part of you as a creative and as an artist, a healer, a person, a Lola.
Yes. Thank you for having me. This is dope.
Yes, I am glad you're enjoying it. And so, kind of to round us out of this episode, I have kind of a series of quick hitter questions. So, whatever comes to mind first, or whatever you just want to talk about, or we could talk for another hour, depending on how much you want to talk about this. But I want to make sure that I'm respectful of your time. So, first things first, I told you I was going to circle back to it. What are your words of advice for someone when they're going to get a massage? I want to really unpack like the massage experience here and how people can make the most out of a massage.
Okay. So first and foremost, be vocal about what you want before getting on the table, while you're on the table, and provide feedback after. Um, um, yes, I think that is the most important because I've learned for whatever reason, and I think it has to do like maybe there's like a power aspect that some people feel. that occurs when getting a massage, but people will sit through a massage that they do not like, or they don't ask for the things, they don't advocate for themselves in that moment. So I always lead with my clients, be vocal, because that's the only way your therapist is going to know if you're receiving the work well or if we need to adjust. So if you need more pressure, say that, you know. If you need less pressure, say that. If you don't like the technique that they're doing, say that, because at the end of the day, it's your massage and we don't know how to best serve you if you don't say anything, you know. And I think that's important also for the therapist to cultivate before the session even starts, is like really encourage communication. I would say check-ins, but personally, I don't. I like to do it before the session actually starts, because once you're on my table, I don't want to talk to you. If you don't want to talk, like, I want you to be in your. That sounds so fucked up. I don't mean it like that, but like, this is the only time that you have allotted yourself, that I know of, to be still, to receive a therapeutic touch, to have time to unwind and just do nothing for like an hour or an hour and a half, you know? So to the best of my ability, I am not going to interrupt that. I want you to be in your space. I want you to receive the healing. I want you to be calm. I want you to have that calm nervous system. I don't want you to think about nothing. Just be present with yourself. So I think therapists also need to come into the space and cultivate that, because it's important. And ask questions, ask what they want, you know. In that same regard, I always lead with my clients that the style of work that I do, the intention behind it, and because I don't do super deep pressure, just because what the deep pressure that people are used to now is like hard fucking bone crushing shit, and I don't do that because I'm not trying to kill you, you know. So I lead with that, so people know what they're getting themselves into, and if they allow themselves to be receptive to that, then you know they're more willing to receive the work. So that is what I would say.
I was laughing when you said that you don't want to talk to them, because I had a conversation with a close friend of mine, and I don't remember how, I think had a massage scheduled or something, but we were talking about massages, and she asked me if I talked to my massage therapist while she's giving me or they're giving me a massage. And I was like, no, like I don't want them to talk to me at all. Like I am in my like zone of like, I'm trying to be in touch with my body and how this massage is going. And my friend was like, no, I need them to talk to me the whole time. Like, I don't want to be alone with my thoughts. I'm like, oh, we are two different people.
And that's what I found. There are people who are like that too, which I don't mind either or, but I do like when people like to talk. Especially like if I'm working like at my job where it's not my own private practice, just because like it makes the day exciting, and a lot of times those conversations get deep, okay? Um um and for some people, that is the therapy, you know, being able to speak through whatever it is that they're going through at that time, or even they just want to like connect, you know. And I know it's maybe like that's like the oddest time to do that, but I found that it's very therapeutic for some people. So
Mm.
hey, whatever you need, I hold space for that. You just gotta, you know, vocalize it.
Yeah, be vocal. That's the take home. I think I had just never even thought about talking to the therapist during the massage. Like when I've had therapists that I appreciate, the therapists that like check in throughout the massage and like see how it's going. But I really wanted them to know, like, hey, I let you know from the beginning. I will let you know, but like, can you just like, all due respect, can you like shut up and
Yeah.
because I don't know, for me, like I feel like a deeper connection with a massage therapist if I'm like quiet, if I'm just trusting them to do their craft, like not trying to have like too much control over my body and just letting them work whatever body work they need to do. And yeah, I feel closer to them when we're not talking, I think.
Mhm. Spoken like a true introvert.
Damn right. Lola, who are some people who inspire you, or who are some people who influence you?
Ooh. This is gonna sound really But for the longest time, I was like, I'm not inspired by nobody. I have no role models. I inspire myself.
Spoken like a true Aries.
Yeah. Type shit. Um, yeah. So, I've opened myself up a little bit. So Dave Chappelle definitely inspires me in the comedic realm. For reasons that I said earlier, I think he's a master of his craft. He's just like effortlessly funny to me. And I love the substance that he adds to it. And I also fuck with the controversy because when you say some real shit, you're gonna hurt some people's feelings. I also am inspired by Rihanna because she almost shares like that same multifacetedness and has been able to, in most of them, excel in all the things that she's done. And I love that. I love that she doesn't kind of like put herself in a box.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Who influences me? Who influences me? Wow. Um, that's a great question. Kovu definitely influences me a lot. um, oh my goodness. Oh, Kovu has taught me. Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. Can you see me? Can you see me? Oh,
Yeah, I can see.
oh okay. I got the low battery. I was like, wait, no. Um, but yeah, Kovu is such a powerful leader in this community, but just individually as a person, he challenges me in ways that most people don't, which is why I take it as disrespect sometimes, but like it's needed. It's needed. Um, um, let's see, who else? Who influences me? My mother. My mother and my sister. I'm really huge on family. So even though I still kind of like go back and forth with my mom with love, I've grown to realize that she knows what the fuck she's talking about sometimes. And she inspires me because since she's just always been one to like take care of herself. Um, she's a giver. She takes care of her people. Um, her massage therapy is doing hair. She genuinely just loves doing hair. That Dominican blowout goes hard, okay? And like I oh that is her love language. And I can see that she's always been one to just be giving, even though she's like kind of hard some way. I've learned that her love language is exchanging and giving. My sister, just because she practically raised me as well, she's such a wise soul. Um, and I think yeah. And honestly, strangers strangers inspire me. Strangers influence me because I'm a big people watcher, and I'm an extrovert. So I talk to people a lot. So when I talk to people of different backgrounds and they say something that I've probably never even considered, I really take to that, you know. Because you don't know what you don't know
Yeah.
until you know it. So I people in general are big inspirations and influences on me just because everyone's so different, and I love that. I love to learn. I love knowing things that I didn't know before. So yeah,
Yes.
I will say that. All those
So
people.
wonderfully stated. I think that that's one of the beauty of open mic spaces too, because some stranger can come into your life for 5 minutes and change your life at an open mic, and you may never
Yeah,
see them again.
right, right. I'm just like, damn, I wish that motherfucker would come back.
Exactly. It's like that. You affected my whole life last week, and you just not gonna show up this week. Or better yet, that's why I always like calling out the people who I know. Like, you got some heat you sitting on, because it's like, nah, you're not just about to sit here in this audience and not share your
You be right too. Every time you're like, I don't know, this person said this shit gonna be fire, and it's fire every time. Every time. You got a superpower. Let me find out.
Hey, I'm a superhero at nighttime. Where can people find you and how can people support you?
Ooh, okay. So you can find my personal page and also like my modeling page and I guess my comedian page, my everyday page at Lola XLACHIVA, which comes out to Lola X La Chiva. La Chiva is the goat in Spanish, but in a feminine ending. I'm sorry. and, and then you can follow my holistic alternative medicine page because it's not just a massage page at Lola X Heals HEALS. And that's where you can find like all the healing stuff, all the spiritual things. Because for the longest time I was doing everything on both, and I was like, you know what? Let me just separate it. I feel weird about advertising my services. I'm just like, ugh, capitalism, just like if you know, you know. But
Yeah.
we're working on it.
Hey, but I feel like you're doing a great job at working at it. I think the giveaway that you had was a great way to get more people familiar with what you do. Selfishly, I think this podcast is a good way at people getting to know what you do and getting some advertisement in a way that is more personal, and it really welcomes people to get to know you, get to know your craft, hear your story. And that's why the question about supporting you comes at the end of the podcast, because it's like, now that you've heard all of this, where can people learn more? So Lola X Heels on IG. I realized I wasn't following your page from the banquet hall page, so you just got at least one new follower tonight.
Ooh, okay. I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. I'm was following it too, so I can't.
And then Lola, the last question of the podcast. What are some takeaways that you have for yourself for this episode? And then what do you hope our listeners take away from this episode?
Takeaways for myself in this episode is definitely I feel like I've grown more comfortable actually talking about myself and my story because the more I started engaging with people, the more I started like doing these things, I've noticed that talking about myself, even though I talk a lot, talking about myself in this way was like such a challenge because I'm just like, I just kind of exist. But I have noticed within this episode, like, it came out with less resistance and less nervous chatter. Because when I'm nervous, I ramble. So that's good. That's good. And I think a good takeaway for what was the second part?
Takeaways for the people listening.
Support real people. I think that's the biggest takeaway. Whether that's me, whether that's Kyler, whether that's anyone else that you've heard on this podcast, like there are people within your vicinity doing real work, and I call it trailblazing because it's not anything that really has been done before. I guess at least in this capacity or in this way. So support what you fuck with, support what you want to see grow. It's very easy to support things that have been established for a long time, but I think we have to consider history and just like politics that go into it. So the only way we want to, I know for me, I'm always one who like complains about the lack of representation in media and stuff like that. But this is how you break that: is you support the people doing the groundbreaking things. So yeah, support your people.
Hey, I couldn't have said it better myself. Lola, thank you so much. This has been It's been exactly the conversation that I expected it to be, and it was better at the same time. Like I really enjoyed talking to you, getting to know you more, hearing your story, just hearing about your why. Like people's whys are so important. So I just want to thank you so much for making the time to be on the podcast, sharing your gift, sharing your story. Listeners, I already know this was a 5-star episode, so make sure you go head on over to that rating, give it the 5 stars. You feel me? Hit follow button, share it with a friend who needs some healing in their life.
Yeah.
We're here for a good time, and hopefully y'all had a good one.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you. This was really dope. I can't wait to see how much you grow from this because you be asking questions, okay? I think you're a great host. I think you are a great conversationalist as well. So I'm excited to see where this takes you. And thanks for
Me
having me.
too. Of course. Typically, I feel like with podcasts, not a lot of people make it all the way to the end of the podcast. So I was thinking we could leave the listeners who stick with us all the way through with a gift and do a quick reading of the New Harlem Renaissance poem to end the podcast out. I pulled it up.
Cool. Oh, so you found the part 2.
I did not find the part 2. I think so. Here's the thing. Hear me out before you judge me. I saw that look. You was ready to start talking shit. When I wrote Obsidian, which was 2020, all of the poems that are in Obsidian are only in Obsidian. They're not on my phone. They're only in the document. So I'm pretty sure that I wrote a part 2 in that book or a different book, but I could be wrong. I don't have a part 2 on my phone though. So we shall see. Not you looking for.
Hold on. This is beneath the surface.
I feel honored that my books are in arm's length of where you're sitting.
Oh, you're lucky. You're lucky we don't have Obsidian here.
It's all good, but I'm going to read New Harlem Renaissance to close out the podcast, and then I'll give you the mic to any last things you want to say, and then we'll have a good night from there. But I just feel like this poem is so fitting for this podcast.
It is. Hold on. Let me hold on, let me open to the page. Okay, page 10. All right, everybody, pull out your books. We're gonna read along.
Pull out 5 South for the read along. This is an exclusive. I've never done this on a podcast before. My very first poetry book came out 2017. Y'all can find it at the fourthkyler.square.site. That's how we shamelessly plug.
$20. $25.
Only $20. New Harlem Renaissance. Since when do you have to be in a history book to make history? My history book told me that the only Black people ever were slaves and Dr. King. My history book told me to idolize Abraham Lincoln. My history book told me racism was history. My history book was all white and they told me they was all right. My history book told me that her story don't exist. My history book told me their story don't exist. So why the fuck do I need to be in a history book again? It's our time. Let's write our own stories. I am not Langston Hughes. However, I too speak Renaissance. I am a younger brother. My poetry ain't in the books. However, I write, I read, I grow strong so that tomorrow I will be at that table, labeled as a poet of a new generation of change, and nobody will dare tell me I'm not part of a movement. Besides, they'll see how poetic I am and be ashamed. I too speak Renaissance. However, I am of a new age, a new culture. Let's make this our Harlem Renaissance. It starts with each other, our voices, our art, our style, reviving what it means to be Black in America. We're more than just the hashtags they bury us under. I look around this room and I see artists, poets, educators, motivators, leaders who can't see the light that they possess, buried under too many I can'ts and I'm not good enoughs. The only thing holding us back from being the leaders of the movements of yesterday and tomorrow is ourselves. We don't need a history book, a professor, or some older person to tell us anything. This is a public service announcement to everyone saying we can't, or we aren't doing it right, or our minds are in the wrong places. We are the leaders of our own revival. We are more than just internet protesters and hashtag experts. We're doing our thing our way. There's no script to our Black joy. It is our time. So what are we waiting on?
Period. Okay.
Snap, snap, snaps. That's the period on the podcast.
Wow. Wow. That's even better. And it hits. It definitely did fit with this episode.
Definitely in alignment with the episode. I was 21 when I wrote that, so it was something special reading that again out loud. Like, yeah, like here I am, multiple books later.
Shameless plug. Wait, speaking of, we're just gonna do it. Yeah, on the surface. Woo! Multi-published. What?
Some light, you feel me? But before this gets too much into plugging myself as a poet, Lola, any last words that you have before I close us out for the podcast?
Any last words? Fuck what society says. Do what you want. Take care of yourself. Love yourself so you can love others properly. And just keep living life.
That's the podcast, listeners. Thank y'all for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all next episode.